all figured out.
And then I'm gonna throw it to Mark.
Well, I just in case if people didn't present that.
Everybody ready?
Oh, good, I'm glad you came to visit.
Okay, everybody ready? You guys all ready?
Ready when you are.
Okay, so I'd like to call to order this meeting of the joint meeting of the Shebig Island School Board and the Shebig Island Board of Selectmen. And I'm going to turn this over to Mark Dyer, who is the budget chair for the Board of Selectmen.
Thank you guys for coming, we appreciate it. I think it's probably appropriate to let you guys open up with a statement of where you are with your budget, how the process is going, and how you feel about it. Go right ahead when you're ready.
You just saw my performance over there.
The school committee has had about three budget workshop meetings. We're about, at our last meeting, about March 22nd, we voted on the first draft of the budget. In looking at our budget this year, we had a handful of changes, which we can get into detail, more detail about as we go through the meeting. But since the number, I did a presentation for you guys, I don't know if you have it, but this was as of March 22nd. It's changed, a few $1,000s maybe since then, just in different changes like health insurance numbers and whatnot. But this is kind of real good ballpark estimate of where we are. And so, like I said, we voted on the first draft. We have two more budget workshops planned late April and early May, and have planned to have it finalized hopefully after that first meeting in May. Yeah, that's kind of where we are.
Okay, anybody else from the school board, you're all set, Susie? Okay. I thought maybe the select board would have an opportunity to get any specific questions to the school board. Donna, would you like to start?
Well, I think as I was doing it, I kind of figured out some of my own questions, because I was confused in the beginning about how, like, the superintendent's salaries and then administrative salaries, and I figured it out. It was both the superintendent and the principal. Am I, okay, so yeah, I answered some of my questions as I was doing it.
It's confusing the way it
I know.
goes.
I was looking at the numbers. At first I thought they were the same numbers, and then I realized, oh, no, there's a two.
Right.
So-
And another confusing thing is that the K2 salaries reflect also the art, PE, music, guidance when we have it. So their salaries are factored in there
Yeah.
also, and that's not obvious from looking at those lines.
Yeah, so I kind of figured that out. But one of my first circle questions is about the legal. I mean, it's 275%, but that's not a lot of money, but you know what I mean? But I just wondered why the legal went up so much.
One of the reasons why it went up is this whole board is going to change. And lots of new people coming, lots of new faces coming on the board, and they like to do a board workshop, and those are through Drummond and Woodson, or
Oh,
even,
okay.
or even through other superintendents coming over, and it costs money to do that, but just boardsmanship and.
Oh, so, okay, that's what, so it's not that you have anything worried about on the horizon. Okay, that's great. Answers that question. Then my other question to do is test scoring. I'm just curious, like, it seemed like it went up a lot. I'm on 8505. Oh,
So that's not test scoring. It got switched to health insurance, and the school committee last year offered the put together a package for the new special ed teacher coming in and was going to offer health insurance to the person. And so we needed a line for health insurance. And
So it's test score?
no, it's not.
Used to
It's
be
been
tested.
crossed
Used to
out.
be.
8505 used to be test scoring, maybe.
Oh, okay, that's
Should be
what's on
crossed
our
out.
paper.
Yeah.
Done, if you have the
So-
copy of this one.
I only got that just when I got here.
And did you ever talk to Justin about changing the title of that?
Oh,
Or did you guys have something that you did? So you guys just did that
so I
internally
just
then?
got this, so that's
Yeah.
no problem. So this is probably, no, I already answered that question. Okay. I really didn't have much, that was it. Those were my questions, the others I answered myself.
Can
Jen,
I
how
ask
about,
the clarifying questions about that? So we have account 8505, which is test scoring, but 8515 is health insurance?
85.
15. We have an account of 8515, which hasn't been used within you guys, but we have that in our system. Does that money need to be moved into that account?
85, 1,
15.
Yep, yes, it does.
85, yes. So 8505, the $10,642 actually needs to be moved to account 8515, which is health insurance.
Okay, I've made that, I made that change.
Jen, did you have specific points or questions for the full board?
I do not.
Well, you, Jay.
The only question I was kind of curious about was that this document suggests that they are up $79,000 this year over last year. This document, holding this up, look at this, suggests that they're up, rounding the numbers off, 48. So I'm kind of curious.
That must be the bookkeeper difference.
It's line item, in this one here. Other professional services, 8108, it's 3,000 in this one, and they're recommending 30. 8108,
Those zeros get you every
I
time.
went through this twice.
no,
So
I
I
didn't,
missed
this,
a zero, you know, I looked at,
No, no, you did not.
no,
No, 8108.
On the budget the select board has, this one.
and that's
they're saying
something,
it says
that's something,
3,000
Jay, that I
instead of 30,000.
noticed when I put the numbers in, and I was looking at the Excel that Ann gave me versus the one that put in, the numbers were off and they weren't
Right.
accurate.
I'm gonna show you.
We talked about this on Friday, and so I put it in and sent it to you, and we just had time to sit down and go over it to see if there was a mistake in the Excel document, or if there was some kind of a oversight somewhere.
That's
So-
where the
Yeah.
big,
So just as a rough guess, is it 80,000 or 40,000?
80.
Up 80,000.
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna be closer to
No,
like
that's,
72, yeah.
yeah, I'm just trying to look at it and say,
Yeah.
how do I understand?
Ballpark, that's the
Yeah.
closer one.
Okay, so it's gonna be up 80 grand. Okay,
You good, Jay?
as good as I'm gonna get on it.
both. Yeah, I have nitpicking stuff that I didn't get this, so, some of this would have helped, go through it, but, the postage, I'm just wondering why the jump? I don't see anything in the past over over $350, and now you guys are recommending $750.
Can you give us a line number?
Oh, I'm my apologies. 8111.
Yeah, we're going back to mailing the newsletter this spring.
Okay.
We'll have one more that will be generated from the school and handed out in the different places, but the one this summer with all the graduates will be mailed to everybody. One day.
So that would explain the printing.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
All Legal's already explained. Pre-K program, we're not gonna offer one.
At this juncture, we don't have any children registered for it. In the event that we do. we certainly will.
Okay. The jump on the 325 teacher salary,
3, 3, 5.
my apologies,
No.
8302.
No, that's okay. So this is my craziness that I did here. What I did last year is I tried to take the kids where they were and make it proportionate in these lines. And what I found is that's just a big old headache and it makes it confusing for the next year. So this year, I had one teacher in one salary line and one teacher in the next salary line, instead of trying to do ratios of kids in this classroom and this classroom. It's a mathematical nightmare.
But don't we just have one teacher,
Yeah.
325?
No, we'll have a teacher in K1, and then another teacher it'll either be 2.5 or 3.5. And so
Two full-time
two
teachers.
full-time regular ed teachers and a 0.6 special ed teacher.
And also the specials go into those salaries.
Right.
All right. The 8310, I do apologize, some of these
Yep.
is because I didn't get this
Nope.
one.
No, you're fine.
So, yeah, anyway, too late. So, just wondering what that is.
General supplies, it's math workbooks, handwriting workbooks, anything that they need for their art supplies, their PE supplies, and any general supplies that we.
So do you usually buy stuff at the end of the year? Or because you only used 1,900, you're asking for 5?
Was that year to date right now?
Yeah, year to date,
I think.
unless the numbers are not inflated.
I believe so.
Okay. There's a lot of other professional, just trying to figure what those are. 8302, 8303,
80, say it again.
8402, and 8403.
So the 84s are under student and staff support. So there's improvement of instruction. That's where we reimburse teachers if they're taking any classes. If we're going to any other professional services, any workshops. And then also in there is library. We pay a stipend to use this library. Also, technology services are in that category, and that's if we need to buy any iPads or any technology equipment, cables, headphones for the kids. Also, other professional services when Bev or any other tech comes and helps us out with our internet or whatnot. Yes, that's where we pay them out of. Also software, and if we have to send any equipment off island to be repaired, it comes out of those funds as well. Also guidance services are under there, and health services. It hasn't happened in the last 2 years, but the school nurse from Yarmouth comes over and does ears and eyes and weight and makes sure that everybody has all their immunization and that gets paid out of that as well. Out of all those lines.
Okay. Seems like a lot on there. Other purchase services, 8405, you're asking to jump.
Say that number again, Bob?
8405.
Yeah, we don't have that.
Oh, I do. right
Other
here.
purchase services.
Other professional services. Yeah, that's the 8405, I'm gonna guess is,
It's right under the technology equipment.
yep, that's when people come and help with the internet and software. So we have to, like if Bev comes
It
and,
doesn't show
Well,
up though in this one.
I have it as 8404. That's technology equipment.
I think 8405 is your payment to the library for use of it.
8403 is library.
Which one should we be looking at?
So we can all stay on the same page. This one or this one?
They
So,
both should be they both should be,
Well, this one's missing.
More or
that number
less.
In the list that Bo just asked about.
I guess, why don't you guys tell us which one you want?
The unfortunate thing is that the information's on this one. and
yeah,
then-
it's more
And then
detailed.
it's not on here.
So
But
this is.
Well,
so-
my question is you have 8402, 8403,
Yep,
and then now you're saying that 8405 does the same thing as 8404, 503.
no, 8404 is technology equipment. Is what-
Yeah.
is that's what we
This
buy.
one says other professionals.
And then 8405 is other professional services. That's coming in and fixing equipment. And wiring.
It's not on there, but it's.
Yeah, there's something wrong with the numbers, I think.
This is
No,
the
it's
84.
on there, it's
I
just,
wanna look at.
the number isn't inputted, so this is we use the Trio system, and then the school is more used to
Yeah.
using this, and so we take the Trio numbers, and now Ann inputs it in this, so if you look at line 8400, right? See how you says 8401, 8402, and then see where it says library and educational media, and then underneath it, it says purchase professional services.
Yeah.
To the right, $4,000. That right there should say 8404 line number.
Well, what about
So-
this one?
Which one?
Look, there's 8404 down below.
So
That's supposed to be 8405, other professional
8405,
services.
yep.
Okay, let's not get.
It's, the reason I'm asking, there's $3,000 in there, and if you don't have it on your list, how'd you put $3,000?
That's why I think we need to stick to that sheet that we're printed out.
your big one.
Yeah.
Okay, I can switch over to
Are you clear with your question then?
I'm just wondering what it is and
Okay.
why the increase. Because it's other purchase services, so I don't know, I understand the wire, if you got a. So,
84 outside, other purchase. It's usually money that should be something dry.
Yeah, this one down there.
But we don't have that.
Yeah, I think something got lost.
We don't have an increase on that. We have it at $1,000.
Is a recurring
Okay.
theme.
So we'll bring it down to 1,000?
I'll check with Vika on that.
Okay, let's not
Purchase
talk, let's
professional
not talk about.
services is a line item 8404 in the Trio system. That's what the $4,000 is.
Right, that's the library. The $4,000 is the library.
Yes, which is 8404, account 8404 in Trio. That's what I'm saying, I think that $4,000, account 8404, technology, or not technology, I'm sorry, 8405 is the library.
Okay.
That's the one you're questioning, right, 8405?
Yeah, but why is it $1,000 last year and now it's? now
Because
it's
it
up
was
to
COVID. Didn't you pay the library less because you weren't using it the full year?
No, we used it the full year and, well,
We pick, we.
we
did?
we paid it. I think,
Just look into it. I'm not
Yeah.
gonna bog down the whole meeting, but this year they used $2.99. So I'm just curious of
Yeah.
what it is. Anyway, regular stipends, 8408.
That's guidance salary.
Guidance salary.
When we have a guidance counselor, that's
Yeah.
where they get paid out. That's the line that they get paid out.
They get paid by stipend.
So salaries.
It's
and
on our,
wages
it
on
says
those.
salary and wages.
So, yeah. So anyway. Yeah.
At the moment, we don't have a
I need a
guidance.
college degree to decide for you guys and stuff, so.
No, our stuff is clear.
Yeah.
I think part of
This is where either you guys start using Trio, or the stuff that's on here, the wording on here needs to be on here. It needs to match, so
Yeah.
that way we're not trying to decipher each other's stuff. And then,
This is the same format we've used since we've been a school committee.
I know, it's funny, I just never noticed before.
It's
I don't know
something
why.
that Marjorie used to take the Trio document and
Yeah.
put it into that form that they're used to and send it to them. So she did it on a regular basis. I think I look back at the notes when school committee and the board and it became part of the Trio and bookkeeping from the school and all of that. Somebody just went through and very quickly set up these accounts in Trio and just put basic descriptions. But nobody since then has ever gone back and really cleaned the, the information, like when you were saying 8408, regular stipend, it should say guidance salary.
Mhm.
It's just a matter of somebody needing to sit
Well,
down and
we
do
do
that,
it.
and
It's
it
gonna
hasn't
volunteer.
hasn't been
Got all
done.
sorts of time on my hands. All right, I'm sorry, Mark, yeah, quite a few. The 8507. It's extended year program.
Yep.
What is that?
In special ed, we have, if a child qualifies, we have to offer a summer program for them. And if we have to have money in the budget for that.
Like a summer abroad.
Yeah, well, I mean, last year it was $2,000. We haven't used any of it yet. Not saying that the numbers are correct in here, but now you're proposing to increase it to 54.
Correct,
I'm just wondering why the increase.
because we have a child that will be having summer services and we already know what the cost of it will be.
Okay. All right, the special education transportation, $26,910.
Yes,
Is that for transportation on the mainland? Is that, okay, all right. Health insurance, 8602. 2022, it was 0. But you got 4,000 in it right now. And you're recommending 5321.
so this is another one of my attempts at being streamlined and it didn't work out. So facilities and the cook share one position. And so what I did is I put the health insurance under one category. And what I've since learned, nobody corrected me until Vika said, no, it's got to be divided into both categories. I put it under one, it needs to go under two.
Okay.
Needs to be split.
Can you specify between which account it needs to be split?
8602 and just a second. And, yeah, 88.
8802?
Yeah. 8602 and 8802.
It's all down. One of my other questions. Just curious what 8612 supplies is.
Those are supplies to maintain the building. If something happens on the boiler and we've got to buy something, that's where that comes out of. If the rain gutter comes down, the window gets broken, that's where.
I do apologize, because there's another line item, 8806 supplies. That one's 8,000.
Yep, that's anything to do with the kitchen.
Is that like food?
Yeah, now you're nailing
I'm
it.
sorry, no, excuse me, can you ask him, is it okay, can you ask her if it's about food?
Go ahead.
Food.
It's food or anything that works in the kitchen. like
Okay, so that
cleaning the
includes-
drains, fixing any of the fridge or the freezer that needs to be, stove.
But the food's also in it,
Correct.
thank you.
The increase on 8617 contract services,
Yes,
what's that one?
that is ground to keep up with the ground. We have overrun that. Every year since I've been here, one of the things that needs to happen is we need to look at the irrigation system and we look at the field because it's not up to par.
You say we've overrun, but 2020 it was 2141, 21 was 1400, and up to date we have 2200. And then you're recommending 75, then you use half of what you asked for last year.
I think before the end of the year, we'll be closer to where we. that $5,000 number.
So you're thinking you're gonna use more the following year?
Yes. With the irrigation system.
Yeah. But doesn't the rec center chip into that too?
We take care of the ball field. I think we have a very good arrangement with them. I mean, we pay them money and we use their facility, like on a rainy day like today. Inside recess, if we needed to, we could have gone over there. We didn't. Our gym classes in the wintertime are over there. We've had a couple of volunteer programs the last few weeks that have used that as a big area. And so we also have done with tree removal. They're good to us and we hopefully we're good to them. They have a soccer program in the summertime and they use we have solid kids in the
All right, the 8708 repairs. I'm assuming some of that was a bust.
It's all purification.
And 9389, and the bus went over a few times.
Yeah.
So yeah. Okay.
So while you're going through this, if I may.
Yeah. No, that was it.
You skipped over 8707, another professional services category.
Yeah.
CTC contract.
CTC contract and bargaining contracts and
And
Yeah.
the reason I'm asking is basically year to date, and we're 80% through the year. And you spent 37,000, budgeted 64. Next 2 months, are you gonna go through to get it to 64, or is that a number where you could cut back a little bit and save some money?
I don't believe so. We have a contract with them.
Don't they bill us twice a year? We haven't seen that second bill yet.
We get a monthly bill and two very large bills.
Something that's a little different this year for the first time is that all of the students are getting a monthly pass. So maybe we need a little time to see what that shakes down to look like over a year or two, because we're not having to pay extra if they go back over for a sports
That's
activity.
great.
It's all covered in the pass, plus their weekend travel with their family, is all covered with that monthly pass. So it's great for families. I think maybe it will eliminate some of the difficulty that we had keeping track of people, and honestly, people weren't really always honest about what they were going to town to do. May or may not have been related to school, but we may have paid for it.
Do you think it's gonna reduce your CTC costs?
No.
I don't know, probably not.
I mean, I just,
So just, I have it broken down here. For next year, our middle schoolers, they'll cost us about $10,500 for their passes. The high schoolers will cost us almost $20,000 for their passes. Right? And then we have a charter fee, we have parking passes. We have employees that, go over daily, and then we have barging, and then we have to budget for parents that go over to pick up their kids or go.
You're not supposed to kick the wire,
what barging?
When we barge the bus off the island, and when we barge the van off the island, we barge the van once a year, because we have to have it inspected. We usually do that in July or August. And the bus, we do it twice a year, once in August and once in February. We didn't do it this February because we did it in January. January, because there's some issues with it, and we asked them if they could just do what they do in
Right.
February instead of barging it off again, and they did.
Good.
I just want to commend you for that monthly pass for those kids. That is huge. I mean, that's something that I just think it's wonderful, and it encourages them to participate in other activities, and nobody's having to nickel and dime and writing stuff down, and I'm sure it's saving time for the office, your office, Vika's office. I mean, I just think that is great.
So Carol White and Leah Gay negotiated with CTC, this contract that we're in now, which also goes for 2 years instead of one, right? 2?
It's more than 1 year.
More than 1 year. And so that was their work.
Yeah,
I think it's a 3 year.
They're both not here right now, but
but it makes sense
Give them a
because
little
they're now
credit.
offering a monthly pass, so
great idea.
it's totally makes sense, and it's going to streamline things and make it better for kids, and that's the main idea.
Mark or Donna, I was just wondering how you intended to run the meeting. When are you gonna kind of take around through asking questions, and then we'll get our chance to ask questions on your budget? Is that
Sure
is that how it's gonna work?
Yeah, I thought when we were done going back and forth, it's gonna offer anyone out in the public if they had a question. And then our budget, I've got some very specific recommendations, which the board may not like, but okay. Why I'm so popular.
Right?
Skinflint was going.
How are you doing with your questions?
That was pretty much all of them.
Okay,
So I do apologize. I got this Monday afternoon because it got sent to Bob Ernest. And then I got this right when I walked in the door. So I do apologize. Some of the questions I probably could have answered myself on that page. So we're gonna, like Mark said, we're gonna have to do some serious cuts on ours. I'd like to see if you guys can button up some of your numbers too. I know it's hard work and it's a pain.
so I'll be quick because I did also just get this document. I apologize for that. So I think my questions may be simple. On this budget page that we received, the first item is line 8040 and 8044, which is operation and maintenance and vehicle operation. And I think I just found it on this document, 8701 through 8711. Is that the cost of running your transportation and bus system, basically?
Yeah, and the school van.
Okay, thank you. That's the first one, first, for my next two.
Next 2,000.
If you don't mind, I'll just use this document for a second. So on our budget on page 26, number 8302,
Mhm.
that has an increase of 33,942. Is that adding another teaching position or is that bookkeeper?
No, that is, that, I don't know if you have on your docket, 8,300, 8,301, and 8,302. So what that did in the past is that, those three lines took up three different teaching positions.
Okay,
Last year, we eliminated one of the positions, but I still spread out the two payments, the two teachers in three categories. I shouldn't have done that, because it just, like I was telling folks, it just muddied the water.
okay,
And so this year, what we did was, we took it, what I did, and the board seemed to like it, is I took the two teachers that we're gonna have for next year, and I put them in the two lines. So, so if you look at 8,300, 8,301, and 8,302,
yeah,
and you add those three lines up over the last year and this year, between those three lines, it is a decrease.
okay. So you're saying that the 8302 that I'm reading up by 98% is not accurate?
It's cloudy.
Okay,
I get it.
Hey, I mean, so 8301, 8302, and 8300, those three this year are now only in two.
Two categories.
yeah,
So one of them went up and one of them went down.
So teaching for that area is gonna be going down as opposed to going up.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
The staff.
if I may, on that same page 27, down on 8518, special education middle school tuition, I assume that is a new added student. A new addition to the,
That covers the cost of tuition for special ed
right,
for a
but
student.
the line that I'm specifically reading is up $62,500 or 2,500%.
Correct.
Is that increase that I'm reading accurate, first of all, maybe? And is
Yes,
it because you just have more liability? I'm trying to.
so couple things that need to come to light here is we are incurring that same bill this year. We did not budget for it last year because it did not come to light until after the budget was passed.
Okay,
So we have a tentative plan to take care of that. Also, we applied last week and our application got accepted. That's another one that I wrote to say about. And are to be partially reimbursed for that number, but you have to spend it first before you get reimbursed. So this year, being proactive, we know that we're gonna have a bill, just like we know we're gonna have a transportation bill. But both those bills, we didn't budget for this year. We still have them. And so we're budgeting for them for next year.
Can I ask you a quick question? I remember early on that the school board would set aside a fund so that in case that ever happened, we would have that, which is really smart. And so I assume that that's how we paid that, because you just never know. And we still are funding that so that we will have money in case we have another student at some point.
Yeah, it's a reserve account. that
Yeah,
we-
that's what I mean, yeah. I just
Well,
want
we
to
made
commend
sure that
you.
was well funded
Yeah. I've supported that right from the beginning,
in anticipation of needing. to use it.
because you never know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
well, I'm
good
trying to
job.
keep my questions simple, I think you can. My next one is, I know how contingency works, because right now, we've chosen to budget $16,000 for the upcoming year for guessing that we may have to use some of it, and we could budget 10,000 or 12,000 or 14. I noticed you budget 10, and you haven't used much of it, but you just decided to budget 10 again, is that right?
We have two areas that I keep the board abreast on that are the aging factors. When the school was redone a couple of years ago, they opted not to do anything with the furnace. Because of the age of the furnace, it is still going, and we have some great people on the island that we call. You know, it went out quite a bit this winter, and Polly, I think, spent one vacation coming up twice a day to kickstart it, but it got passed. The other area is the oven in the kitchen. It is really quite interesting. It's held together by a spatula in one of the cracks so that it's not so noisy, but it's another area that's kind of on its last legs, and we just drive it home until it dies.
So that's an old one that wasn't replaced when the remodel was done. I didn't
Correct.
remember that.
Yeah, that whole new nice kitchen was built around that old pit stove.
Guess I missed that one. Okay, thank you for
And it's
that.
still working, why did we need to?
Yeah.
I know, we were being very conservative.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We kept the furnace. Yeah, any of you have seen that furnace?
I remember some of it, but it was a lot. And my last question is, how are you doing, in your opinion, with your reserve accounts?
So in the little presentation I printed you off, it said that we would have in excess of 100,000 in undesignated waiting on the audit. So I'm gonna get to your question, but kind of in a roundabout way.
Yeah.
I think that our undesignated funds right now, the last number I heard was approaching $190,000. So there's a ton undesignated, it's unspent. A lot of the last couple of years were, COVID shortened and covered by state and federal grants. So the undesignated funds strong, and B, the reserve accounts are in great shape because of an excess we had two years ago, I guess. We funded the capital, we funded the tuition account reserve, the special education reserve, a transportation reserve, which hopefully will be used for a new bus down the road. Yeah, special ed, tuition, transportation, and yeah, the playground a little bit. Oh yeah, and the capital reserve. I mean, being a new building and all, we don't anticipate, we didn't really feel like we needed to fund the capital reserve a ton, but it's in solid shape.
And I'm sorry, is the $115,000 or $120,000 a year for the school remodel over in our section?
It's under
It's in
that.
debt services.
So in our budget, we have, in the sheet, we have the SAD 51 debt. That's just kind of the way it's been done over the years. So that's 120 or 130,000 or something. But the school renovation debt was put on the town, the municipal side debt.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all obviously paid out of the same
When is that one coming due for?
2025.
Oh,
Yeah, I suppose, yeah. And there may be like a small payment in 26, I forget, but I think 25 is the last year of a large. And obviously our valuation in comparative to Cumberland and North Yarmouth has decreased. So North Yarmouth's share of the same debt service has gone up a lot and ours has decreased, so.
Be dancing in the streets if I lived till 27. Thank you very
That's
much.
not that long ago,
Just, there is another kind of hidden debt service that we pay. And Yarmouth has added onto a lot of their buildings, and now our tuition, the tuition bill that we get from them, we pay the state average, plus we also pay a percentage of the debt of their new renovations based on the percentage of students that we have over there, which is relatively small.
is that only the middle school and the high school? We're not paying the elementary.
Yeah, the middle school didn't get much renovations.
Right.
The elementary school was one that got the big renovations, we're not paying.
Okay, so the high school basically.
Yeah.
And
High
that's,
school, middle school.
that's allowable but it's not really the per pupil cost, is that what you mean, separate from that?
Yes, it's up and beyond, I think, for the renovation for the middle school, I think we're gonna pay almost $10,000 next year, and for the high school, we're gonna pay about 20,000.
Per
But
student?
it's
No, overall.
But it's rolled into the
It's rolled
tuition
into their
line.
tuition line.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Anyone from the public have questions at all for the school board? Thank you.
I have
You
one-
guys have an.
One more question.
You guys,
So do you think that you will be able to have any money, be able to, offset some of your budget with any of the undesignated fund
I
balance?
feel strongly that we would vote in favor of that once we were able to,
Once you
once
finish,
we knew what the number was for sure. I mean, I guess it's up in the air whether we have to audit before we vote on that. I mean, we should.
I think we're gonna talk about it Tuesday after vacation, so on our agenda.
That would be my goal. I'm not speaking for the rest of the committee, but I
yeah,
would-
because we found
It's our
out the
reserve
town
account,
doesn't
sir.
have to have an audit, that Deacon knows about it.
Yeah, so the school and the town, the municipality, they're not required to have an audit to use some of the undesignated funds. The biggest issue that we run into is with the school and having the potential of having your subsidies that are provided by the state be removed because you don't have an audit. The state is well aware that it is becoming to be an increased issue amongst municipalities. I have not yet successfully, even though I was hopeful, found an auditor. Our old auditor is just not able to do it. Everyone's maxed out, everybody is capped out. The state, I did call them again today. They were supposed to get back to me last week and they didn't. The state's aware that we're in somewhat of a unique situation with the fact that we have a school system underneath the municipality. So I think that they're gonna try to work with us. The big issue, if we're not able to find an auditor, is if the state does the audit. An average audit that costs $4,000 or $5,000, a town just paid $45,000 to do it by the state. So it's a huge increase. What they're gonna do is they're gonna look at us specifically and try to see if that number can go down a little bit because we are a little bit smaller than other towns. But I think one way or another, the state might end up stepping in and helping us somehow, because of the school situation. The town, even though they're required to be audited, they can go years without being audited, and they're really not gonna get in trouble. But the school and your subsidies that, with the third extension, right? I told them that we just applied for a third extension.
Yeah.
They claim that they're gonna put us on kind of, a first priority to try to see what they can do, but, regardless, your undesignated funds, I checked in and I also verified with Marjorie, you're not required to have the audit to use it. But the recommendation that I received was, just try to be conservative on it. If you think, based on what Marjorie looked at, that you have 190,000, don't by any means try to use all that. So,
Thank you.
Okay.
anything else for the school board? You guys okay if we move to the town side, please? Speaker, on the document that you gave us, the budget on page 34, under the bold expense total, is that number under initial request versus current budget, $261,002 accurate in your opinion?
yes, that's taking all of the adjustments that you've made through these last two meetings and putting them in.
I went through, go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah, I was just wondering if we were gonna have the opportunity to ask questions, kind of like you guys just did,
You sure are.
before you kind of go into the details.
I wanted to just clarify this with Victor before we get going.
Yeah, so that includes, the money that, the town budget, and then now that includes, everything that's been put in, so.
And the 7.74% increase is only on the municipal side, obviously.
The whole
No, this
budget.
includes the whole budget,
Yeah.
the school and the town, so the $261,000 increase it's combined both the school and the town,
Okay,
you know,
thank you.
including what you put in for capital improvements and so forth.
I was mistaken. I thought we were up 7.5% and they were up. Whatever it was.
You did cut a few things last, budget meeting, so. you went down with it.
I just had, that's missing $27,000
For what?
from the line item from the school. The
Where it's 3,000. it
Yeah,
should be
where it's
30,000.
3,000 in here, it should be 30. For, I can't remember what, sorry,
Oh, for the bookkeeper.
yes. thank you.
Oh, right.
Which, hold on.
I'll give me a second. Just look through it.
You should become an accountant. We have a
And
line
what
for
line item is
bookkeeping.
that?
Line item 8108, other professional services. You got it down as 3,000, should be 30.
Get your finger up to click.
Page 25.
And you're paying attention to me. You guys okay if I open this up to questions and then come back to us and we'll go through things?
I think that's the way to do it.
Just really quick,
Okay?
nice graphs, and thank you. I thought it was really helpful. You guys did a great job on here.
Go right ahead with questions, anybody.
Wondering if you could summarize how you approach this budget, what your goals were.
I can summarize from my perspective. I can't speak for the other four. So my perspective is always trying to keep things from going up, first of all. Second of all, when it comes to capital improvements, there's where your fight can start and lose quite quickly according to how you tackle it. What I mean by that is, do we finish up the roads or not? Are we gonna try to put any more money into the stone wharf reserve or not? Are we going to try to put some money away for dredging to soften the blow of the second payment or not? So on and so forth. Do we need to continue to plan on updating public works equipment, fire and rescue, so on and so forth? So we got hit with some good sized requests. So my philosophy's always been try to keep things as close as they were, looking at the history of use of each line item. I think the board does a pretty good job of going through every department, every line, and coming back to each meeting and having some specific observations and recommendations. We have some vigorous agreements and disagreements at times, but that's my philosophy. Anybody else?
Mine is to spend just as much money as I can. To try to get as much done as we
And hope
can.
nobody's looking.
No, because pretty soon won't be anybody, they won't want to spend any money at all, so any chance you get to do something that's gonna make things better for people, that's my personal philosophy.
Anybody? I'm sorry, go
Well,
ahead.
I was just gonna say, but I do feel strongly if we're going to go forward with the stone wharf, that we need to make sure there's enough money to get us into a final design. That's one of my personal goals. And the other is figuring out how we're gonna pay for the second, $250,000 for the dredging that's just been done.
We only discussed it.
We don't have a final plan. We had a concept.
You have a good concept.
I mean, we don't have it written down.
We did 32,000, plus we had 18,000 in that account. That's 50. And then the remaining balance will be done over the next 4 years. Am I mistaken? Is that
We have to
not
get the
what
money to pay them by the.
I think that's where we left it, Jay. I think you're pretty close with your statement. I'm not sure we decided where to get that balance from. But
That was my point, is where do we get the money that we're going to then pay, because we have to pay them. They said we had beyond town meeting, so we had until after June to pay it, but we've got to come up with $225,000 in cash. And
We had X amount of years to pay.
no, that was the federal government. We checked into it and they've never had anybody do that.
I was where Bo was, which was that was still an open option. Nobody corrected that.
Anybody else want to answer Jeff's question of what's your philosophy of how you tackle our budget?
So I just look at it like Mark does, line by line, look at the past years, try to compare that. Although this year we had a lot of, especially in public services, we had a lot of the bargain cost increase in the solid waste is also barging is a big cost in waste. You know, we had a lot of costs in there that we're trying there's committees working on it right now, trying to alleviate some of that cost, but still work in progress. As far as the capital, try to put in there as much as we can to try to keep the budget flat, but and try to get as much as we can out of it. So that's all that's for.
So on that capital part, it says under the paving, 90/50, it says that year-to-date, 125,000 has been spent. But I thought that work was not able to get done last summer, so work didn't get done. We have that stockpile of material up there. So how did we spend 125,000 if the work didn't get done? And B, are you gonna like double up the amount of road that's gonna get done this year?
Yeah, so, where is that line?
Looking at 90/50, it's page 33. Second.
I believe that should be 40 something. That would be 45. If I remember correctly, I can't remember the exact
It's
number.
not 125,000 that's been expended, but here's what happened. So last year, we were supposed to have the chip sealing done on a number of roads, and that's what that stone is piled up at the public work. Suddenly, that company could not come and perform our work because of a huge storm that hit down in southern Rhode Island, Massachusetts area, somewhere in there, southern Mass, Rhode Island. So they could not come do the work. So we had already signed that contract with them. Then they asked if it was okay to invoice us for the stone only. And wasn't that about 50,000?
It was right around 47 and change.
Yeah. So they asked us for permission to invoice us for the stone. We felt that was okay, so we paid them for the stone. That contract is still in place. They're supposed to come and do that project sometime this summer, early fall. We don't have a schedule quite yet with them. And then we have tentatively in our budgeted another $140,000 roughly to possibly pave Chandler's Cove Road, Old Cart Road, tops of Fenderson and Caps Road, if we keep it in the budget. Did that answer your question?
It does, but it says, I mean, yeah, it answered the second part for sure, but the first part, I'm still confused about it. It says you spent year-to-date 125,000, but you're saying.
We didn't.
You
So
didn't?
Jeff, the one difference with the accounts that under capital improvement versus the rest of the ones, when it says year to date, that's what we have. That's what the selectmen voted last year to put into the budget for the capital and reserve amount. So year to date, you have $125,000 within that budget, but it hasn't been expended.
Okay,
It's a little bit different to
goes in May.
understand within the capital versus the rest of the budget,
got it. That
if
makes
that
sense.
makes sense.
It does, yeah, thank you. I don't understand that.
Actually, I'm sorry, but that number was not correct according to our Machias Saving Reserve account. We have 185,000.
Yeah, so you're gonna look to the left where it says any descriptions underneath it. So the 2022 budget, the selectmen put $125,000 into paving. So with that, and what was there before, there was a little over $185,000 in. And the 2023 initial budget, they're predicted to put another $125,000 in.
Got it, thank you.
Sorry, that's kind of confusing, I know.
All good. And then onto the solid waste budget, you have 20,000 in there for painting the building. Is that based off of an estimate or where is,
Yes.
An old estimate.
which,
Old estimate.
I was
which
gonna ask
building?
that.
The,
Just the
It's just Gail's shed.
the transfer station.
It's gonna be really special inside.
Yeah.
We hired Martha Stewart.
The state a few years back told us that we needed to, it's some kind of special paint because it's rusting. So we got quotes a few years back. We budgeted a few times, we've taken it out a few times. So I think this year we just put it in our operating budget instead of trying to put it in capital.
That was gonna be my next question, why did you decide to do it?
So that we can actually do it. Just do it.
That's it.
There was a balance in the capital account. And we added 20,000 to the operational side, which basically covered what we expected would be a new estimate based on what we've previously seen, and it was just to get it done.
So you don't have new estimate.
Now, if any of you want that job, we'd be happy to have you put in a proposal.
Yeah.
I don't believe we have what I would call a current estimate.
No, we don't. The latest estimate we have is from 2019. And it was, there were a couple different estimates. There was one within the 15,000 and one within like the $18,000 mark.
And I'll just let the cat out of the bag early on. I'm in favor of yanking that money back out of this budget. And I know you guys probably aren't. That's fine. I was gonna hoist Bo up there with a can of rust gold in it.
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't our
Anything to get
insurance-
it done at this point.
I believe it was our insurance company that brought that to our attention.
I think it looks fantastic. You're talking about the metal structure that
Just
goes
the
over all of
beams,
the bins,
Yeah.
and it's resting on the top.
No, the beams are rusted.
Just surface rust,
It's just surface. It's not.
nothing structural.
That's it?
20 grand.
Pretty much.
20,000, because there's always what?
You see a bid
It's
coming,
special
I can
paint
tell.
and you have to treat it on.
I don't wanna get too.
Sorry, that went
Yeah,
further.
that's all right, no, that answered it, thank you. Why, I'm trying to look for the line item now, but why did you increase the funding for the rec center by 3,000?
Good question.
Because they asked us to, and we almost turned it down and then we caved in. That's not honest answer.
We can uncave.
That's my honest answer.
Okay. All right, that answers it. So I guess big picture, how much is the increase in the municipal side if you don't add the school side, like just your budget?
How much is yours? We can subtract.
Could you calculate that quickly?
Well, I
You
mean,
guys are at school.
you're asking me.
Come on.
to do that. Yeah, but the last meeting that we had last week,
Yeah,
and give or take a few things that were taken out, but nothing major. I don't know, maybe 50,000 here or there. That's different than the 30 I just missed. Let me see, where is it? So the last one we had. See, without the school, it kind of gave it a funky estimate. We were.
As of a couple of weeks ago, it was 300 grand.
It was,
So
That may
we were
that may
at
have changed.
2.5 million or so.
No, Jeff,
Seven.
I think Jeff's specific question, if I heard you right, Jeff, was what percentage of an increase are we up on just the municipal budget excluding the school budget? Is that
Yeah,
accurate?
dollar amount and percentage, yeah.
I don't have the percentage, but the initial numbers were about 2.5 million.
No, he's looking at what the increase actually
Oh,
is.
the increase?
So I'm on page 34 and we added the 30,000 in.
Yeah,
So it's 291,000 total for the school and.
It's actually only 27,000.
All right.
So I got it at 288.02 minus their 74. I might be doing that wrong too.
The
So
74
the
female.
74,896 is what you have,
Yeah, that's fine.
and that leaves 213, whatever. But I don't know what the
So that's,
213,000?
213 is ours.
so I forget the numbers, but your total budget is roughly 2 million, so that's a 10% increase, roughly, for round figures.
Well, then how do we get a 7.74 increase with both of us together then?
That's all, this one
This
over.
is fuzzy math, yeah.
That's a different Excel document that I haven't had.
Yeah, because to me, if we've got a total of approximately 8%, and out of that 8%, 74,000 of that is the school, so you just make a ratio of 74 over 288, divide that out and it'll tell you.
I didn't.
Well, you wanna make-
Neither did I.
Okay, so it's about three. It's around 3 or 4%.
Basically, the town budget is a little over 2 million.
Yeah.
Your budget's something in that around 1.3, which gets us to the 3.3. And if we're looking at being up 200 on 2 million, that is give or take 10%. And you are at 1.3 and you're up 80 grand.
7%.
Those are the numbers,
So municipal size up, pushing 10%.
more or less.
Okay.
Then how do we get to
So-
7.7?
The long way around.
So look at the smile on his face.
Well, I just want to circle back to what you kind of
Well,
closed
this
out
doesn't-
with, and, we ought to take some hard looks at.
Oh, no,
We're cutting.
trust me, we have. So, and
It doesn't make
I
sense
think
though.
Mark's looking to make some more, so.
This totally doesn't make sense. If together we're 8% up.
We're at about 6.1.
Okay, so you're 6.1.
Well, that's all right. It doesn't need to be calculated right now. I get the rough figures anyway.
No, you're absolutely right. If we're up $213,000, we're up 8%, right? Isn't that right? Isn't our budget?
That's what we
on-
call fuzzy math, but that's okay.
Isn't our budget on 2,400,000?
A little over 2 million, yeah.
Well, we've got, the total is, what was yours?
The
1 million?
The total budget is
Yours is
roughly 3
1.2,
million.
correct?
1.2.
Well, this says 3,634,000.
Okay.
Yeah, I was using 2.4 million. And I went 0.08, and it's 208,000 dollars.
All right.
It's,
So it is up quite a bit, to
Okay.
answer your question honestly, yes.
And I want to make a statement. If we were part of Cumberland right now, you know what our taxes would be? And I'll give you an example. When Binky Boxer and Eric Weigel switched houses, they were both paying $4,000 in taxes on that house that Eric built for Binky. And they switched houses, they didn't change any money. Eric Weigel's taxes are 8,500 right now, and Binky's are less than 4,000, they're like 32 or 33, somebody can look it up. But that's, if we had stayed part of Cumberland, that's what would have happened.
Well, Yarmouth is talking about going up 10% this year.
I mean, I'm just, I
Yeah,
don't
no, I agree.
For us, I think we
Yeah.
should all be thankful that where we are right now, and, you know, we may be trying to nickel and dime each other, but I think we've done a pretty good job, and I think that there are things in this community we need to do, and we need to do them. And everybody in this community needs to understand that things need to get done, and that we, if we had been part of Cumberland, all that money would have been going off the island, and right now it's all staying on the island. And so I think it's just something, you know, I think about it often when we're in these discussions.
Thank you, Donna.
Yeah, I agree, and I mean, that's the same with the school, I mean, the kids are getting an amazing education, and
Incredible.
it's a big dollar amount, but the kids are getting a top-notch private school,
But
like,
if we're in
education for
51,
taxes that are incredibly low.
If we're in SED 51, you'd be paying, you know, like 78% of the budget would be the school.
Yes.
And we wouldn't be getting anything hardly back, you know, so.
Jeff,
think it's
good
tricky.
question so far. Do you have more?
One more, and that's it, I promise. Is there an expectation that nonprofits will provide a report to the Board of Selectmen about their operations yearly? Do you have that recent? the
They
recent ones?
give us a budget. They give us a full budget, and it includes some description of their operations.
And they have to come in person and give a presentation.
Oh, they do that?
They do,
Okay.
yeah.
All right, cool, thanks.
Anyone else?
I was just gonna say, you know, something to think about when looking at the school budget. It costs sometimes the same amount of money to run the school with 4 kids as it does for 20 kids, because you need building, you need the teachers, and, you know, our enrollment definitely is a little bit lower than it has been in some previous years, but some of those costs are still there, and, you know, that's probably gonna come up with community members, but
Well, you can't,
it's not avoidable.
no, it's not.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't, I mean,
I know you guys
you
get it. I know
you got a structural cost,
Right,
and you've got positions and roles that all have to be funded.
Right.
And whether, as you say, there are 9 kids or whether there are 20 kids, and, you know, it's, I mean, my grandson is getting an education that you couldn't put him in a private school
right.
and get the same education. I mean, it's just, you know, I mean, it's a one-to-one teacher relationship. It's incredible.
Right. I think I'm preaching to the choir here, but you're gonna hear it from people who say, well, their numbers are low. You know, when Sumner was there were 34 kids. It's not what it is right now. That's a whole other conversation. You know, there's no place for people to live and all kinds of other things.
We hear plenty. But I'm wondering if you have specific questions for us,
No.
like Jeff did for our budget.
I was just wondering about
The size is too high, which I'm very aware of. Did you have any more specifics? No? Anyone from the public? I'm sorry, go ahead.
Jeff, you asked about, you know, what everybody's philosophy was, and I think Jay and I kind of touched on that. But having come from the school side over to this side, it was a whole different, obviously, ball of wax. And being over here, this is my first year, I tried to understand a lot of the different departments, and spent time with public works, spent time with the fire department, and going through very specific things and listen to, you know, what they have known from the past. And I guess my philosophy has been that, you know, you have to put money into things that are needed, and not everybody agrees that certain things are needed. You know, we've gone back and forth on a bunch of different things. But my philosophy is, you know, if there's a plan in place, you know, try to stick with the plan. If there isn't a plan yet in place, then, you know, I don't think it needs to be funded necessarily. And yeah, I think that we need to do some sharpening of some pencils pretty quick. But it's also, I think this is the way the world is, that everything's gone up. And this just might be one of those years. I mean, everybody always tries to keep, you know, a budget flat, but this might just be one of those years where it's not gonna be. And I don't hope because I'm new on the board, I don't get pegged the reason that it's.
You guys ready for me to read down
I
through
think
them?
Jay hasn't had a chance to get
I
that.
haven't had a chance to.
No. My concerns are principally with the capital budget and capital planning, which, quite frankly, from my perspective, needs a lot more work. I think that many of the things on the operating budget, are gonna go up and down a little bit every year. That's just, it's like anybody's business, you have certain operating costs that and you can adjust for and so forth. The capital budget and the capital planning part is where I think the real focus should be, or one of the focuses needs to be. And that's not to say that we don't need to look closely at the day-to-day operating budget, but the capital budget is a planning part. It looks at all those things that we may have coming in the future and tries to put them in perspective and in a place. And it tries to create a formula, for lack of a better word, as to how they get in that priority in place. And I think that that's something that that this board needs to really work on more than it has, but needs to go forward with that. I'll be
Who wants to go first? Can I go first?
Yeah.
Okay. I think that one of the things that we have done the best job with the taxpayers is educating them about that the budget actually, the amount of money we spend goes up every year. And what we've done is we've given a false sense of that by putting in the undesignated fund balance, although I think we should be giving money back to people. But I don't think they have a total understanding. And the other thing, the other issue, which we can't, we may be wanting to sharpen our pencils, but we don't know how much, until we talk to the assessor, how the valuation has increased during this year. And that may offset some of this increase as well. But I'm not sure that people really understand that since we became a town, how much our budget has gone up because of some of these fiscal opportunities that we've had, whether it's increased valuation or whether it's the undesignated fund balance. And so, all of a sudden, if you see there's an increase, then people go ballistic, but they don't understand that's been happening every single year.
The spending's gone up roughly 3% a year, and it's been offset by moving money from the undesignated fund balance over into the system at the end of the year to the tune of 80,000 to 150,000. And also, like Donna said, the valuation usually doesn't go down, so that helps us as well. Herb and I tried to be very clear for a number of years with the public on that, and maybe we were, and maybe we failed.
I think if people's taxes don't go up a lot, they don't listen. They're not, they're not worried about it.
You guys ready for some of my recommendations so you can shoot them down? Ready? Okay. Pretty simple. We're gonna start with the budget page, obviously. And we are going to page 7. Law enforcement. I am recommending that we can operate this budget for $50,500.
I'd go to 0.
Do we not have, I thought we had a contract for like 52 something.
There was a contract, and instead of rounding up a couple $100 in there, you just said round it up to 53 and make it bigger.
Have you
Yeah.
signed it?
Have I signed it?
Yeah.
It
Has it been submitted to the Cumberland County Sheriff's Office?
How do you get it down to 50?
Just looking at how much it's cost us.
Right, but where do you take the money?
What did I what?
Where do you, to knock off the $3,000, where are you taking it out of? I mean, are you planning on going back to the sheriff and saying we're gonna pay you $3,000 less?
Well,
Or,
I'm just saying, if you look at 2020 actual, 2021 actual, and 2022 budget, and not 2022 budget, 2022 year to date, I'm saying we can operate this for $50,000 roughly.
I don't disagree, but where are you reducing it? That's my question.
The issue is the contract service.
Where are you gonna cut? Which line do you wanna cut it at?
Are you gonna take it out of wages, part-time, gasoline, or travel?
The increase was in, I think the contract pretty much
The
stayed the
increase in
same.
the
but it was
contracted
7,000.
services because the contract went up this year. And when I emailed, the reason behind why it went up was due to the 4% increase in COLA, and, health insurance benefits, so it's not,
And the cottage rental
And
was,
the cottage went up too.
what's that?
The cottage,
The last year, the cost of the cottage went up, so that's $7,000, which wasn't, it was only 4 in the past, I think.
yeah.
So did the wages go up?
Yeah.
Just the COLA?
So the current year contract is, so this contract, and that's the other thing is that, the last year's budget for the, Cumberland County contract, the way that it was budgeted was they took the budget number that was presented and used that. Right now, the contract that you received that you're budgeted for this year is the contract that is going to be 5/26/2022 to 9/5/2022. And it's $32,128. And so we're always a step behind in terms of what we budget for and the percentage that it's gonna increase. So the budget, what we budgeted last year to what it is now is 4%, and that wasn't included budgeted properly, which is why the discussion was to take this contract, add 4% to it, so you can adequately budget for it for next year.
And then if you look at our local enforcement line, which is wages part-time 1010, we're only expended at $4,600 so far out of.
Year to date, there's two payrolls that haven't posted to this.
Is
I'm
that,
not seeing a lot of activity up there.
So you're looking at 70, for 2021, the actual was expended at $7,100.
Okay, so you guys are no, is that your answer? And you're a no,
I would cut out the whole contract.
and you guys are a no?
Are you talking about, I need to be clear where you're trying to take it out of.
Well,
I mean,
50
if you
cents
were-
on line one?
If you were taking it out of, you know,
I guess,
10, then yes, then I would agree with that.
I guess I am asking, is the parking enforcement happening consistently?
From what I get from payroll and verbal compensation is it's happening every day.
and we had revenue from parking tickets.
We have,
Yeah, I know, we have. I'm trying to remember what it was.
Well, they pack up there more overnight, so we get more money to offset the swine.
Okay, I failed on that page, I'm gonna move on. Okay?
Yep.
Let's see, revenue,
Year to date, $700 in parking.
That doesn't seem to
Yeah, that's real
justify that.
Well, more people are bringing their cars.
my next page is page 15, Public Services Department. Page road materials. We used a lot in 2020, not so much in 21. We budgeted the same amount almost in 2022. We've only expended half of that. Not even half of that. I'm saying we can knock that down to 15 grand.
I know Chuck uses material, you know, wait till the end of the year to buy material.
He's getting ready to order material.
And we also have no plan for using any of it. I haven't seen a plan for dirt roads.
I would go along with that. I had 2,500 out of road materials and 2,500 out of winter road materials.
We're always hammering on it. If we don't have a plan for something, let's not budget for it. And I have not seen a plan for dirt roads.
I agree for 15.
Okay. Same page,
Wait, hold on, 4630, we're doing 15.
Yes,
Okay.
I don't know.
And
well, we haven't
4640?
Agreed here.
You're keeping 4640 or you're adjusting that as well?
I would take money out of that because if you look back at how much we've spent for winter road materials for the last couple of years, we've only used about half of it.
what's your
Except
recommendation?
2020
Mine
was a
say
bang up year.
2,500, huh?
2020 was a bang up year,
Right,
33,000.
What's your recommendation, Don?
take out 25,
And so it's
2,500, you mean?
yeah.
I don't know what his supply is, so I don't want to, you know, cut ourselves short and not have any sand salt to the road.
So you want to knock it down to 12.5?
That's what I mean, I'm looking at the past 2 years, you know, he's still got plenty of time to get some stuff here, plus then have another 12,000 next year, so.
Anybody else? What do you guys think?
I agree.
12.5.
Mhm.
Can I make a quick, not a suggestion, but rather a question? If the school board is something you want them to continue to sit here through, if they need to be, if somebody has a vote to catch, I just want to be mindful of that if
Oh, if they get bored, they can leave.
it's, okay.
Or you can help us make additions and
Yeah.
subtractions. Great.
I gotta get to the next vote. I'll hang out here till then, 2 minutes.
Just wanted to put it out there, if there are people that need
Yeah.
to or want to leave and we
I
were
mean,
having
even
this
if you-
discussion.
Even if you all, I don't know how you guys look at it yet, or, you know, how much you guys actually dove into it. If you notice something that caught your eye,
Just out of curiosity with this whole road cutting out, do you guys have a plan of what, like, the materials are, what you specifically use them for? Like, is that all documented, so you go, these numbers are based off?
they're based off past usage, and just the numbers that you see. And then unfortunately, most of the time, the material from last year is used during the year, and then he usually saves up during the year, because you'll notice that we only spent road material 7,506. I mean, that's what he used this year, but he used supplies from last year. And then at the end of the year, he buys for the rest of his budget, so that it
Carries forward.
yeah, it kind of, there's like a lapse and stuff, so.
And he has mixed some of that reclaim with gravel and put it on a couple of the dirt roads. Now, I wasn't insinuating that nothing had got done on the dirt road, but I don't want to keep buying stuff. We're not going to make a plan for it.
He did suggest that because of him doing that mixing, he is slowly beginning to get to the point where those roads are needing less frequent maintenance to them because the stuff is just sticking that much better. So I think that's probably where you're seeing a slight gradual in the amount. But I think, you know, they would be the ones to have that full conversation.
But I will say, yeah, like you said, without a plan, but I know that certain roads that are gonna need some attention.
I don't mean to be grumpy.
My roads are gutter, the water runs down the middle of it.
We've been trying to pitch it towards your house forever.
I don't care, I like it.
Same page, page 15, line item 5,000, contract services. I think we could knock that from 6 down to 5,000.
From what?
It's at 6,000 proposed right now, 2023.
And you
Line
want,
item 5,000, I'm saying we can knock that down to $5,000. That's my suggestion to the board.
I can go with that.
So if we had things that have to do with drainage easements, and we have to get a contractor in to help with that, that would come out of drainage easements, right? Not out of this
It would.
line.
Different line.
Thank you.
Next page, if I may. You guys getting impatient with me yet? Page 16, solid waste budget. Line item 4,000, I'm recommending taking 20 grand out.
I'm a no.
I'm a no. I would just get it done
Need to get
and
it.
stop talking about it.
Totally yes on that one. You know that already.
I think it's up to Jay.
I know that the last time we talked about this, I said, no, as much as I'd like to get it done, I think we should take the 20 grand out of the budget.
I hate to do it because I think we need to get it done, but I think we need to do it this year.
We need to start to save some, I mean, there are not a lot of spots where we can save a lot of money in the operating budget.
Yeah,
And, you know, that's, I mean, I've been thinking about that for the last couple of days. And I, you know, just, as I say, I'd like to get it done, but you know what? If it waits another year or two.
How about if you took 10,000 out of here and then, I mean, make this go to 0 and put 10,000 of it into the capital budget for planning for doing it. And so you'd be cutting 10,000 out, but at least you'd still be putting money forward. Because if the insurance company, it was their suggestion, at some point you're gonna have to do it. So every year, 20,000 seems like a lot, but if we put 10 this year and 10 next year, then
Do we have something in writing from the insurance company that says you need to do this? Or is it like one of those things where they come down and they can't find anything specific and they?
I don't know.
I think we'll do, but I'll look at. the
yeah, I think there
paper
was, we got a memo, or we got some kind of.
This is
letter.
this has been going on for 4, 5 years
I
now.
know, I know.
You know, I mean,
I'm just not in the mood. I really
No,
did.
it's a good point, Jen. She can find. see if
No,
she- what she
I think
finds.
Victor's right. I think we might have something.
But anyway, that was a compromise,
My-
thinking, you know,
Mine stayed taking the 20 out.
So.
Unless
Jay's-
Jay and Jen feel
what's-
differently,
what's
because
Jay's?
you're my 2 votes. You feel differently about it, either one of you? Are you good with it?
taking the 20 in.
Yeah, thank you.
Bring it down to 1,300.
Yes.
Hey, look, you know, you can go to Ace and buy a whole lot of Rust-Oleum spray cans.
Can you spray this?
More power to you.
What line item are you gonna take all that out of?
That's 4,000.
The next line here, it says to me, line 4655, chipping and grinding of the brush. We've gone up to $21,000. Have you had any contact at all with Jamie, the guy at Affordable Well Drawing, that probably will be the one who do it again? Probably not.
The last discussion I had with Justin about it was that that is gonna be something that would be recommended and needed to be done again this year, but I have not personally spoken to him myself.
I'd just like to remind everybody that we used to do that budget for it every other year, was 15,000. And I know that there's a serious committee looking at all of the fees for the transfer station. And I think people need to be thinking seriously about this line, because if you think about it, it used to be 7,000, 7,500, and now it's 21 a year.
For the chip.
Is this the
Is
multiple
that how
you're talking about
Yes.
taking away?
No, I'm not taking away the multiplier.
It's the recreation of additional.
chips that-
It's like asking people to,
Now this-
like, if you have big giant trees, you pay for your own trees, so I'm not paying for your trees?
So, yeah, I was actually gonna ask, I was asking Jeff about this, how much of this use is by private contractors? Because like also, like, you know, people that are cutting down trees for other people and using this, because
Most of it.
Because
No,
I think
for
that
the
that's important
accumulation
to
is
know that
right.
like taxpayers are paying for people or paying somebody to provide a service to then ship. So I just
And
think
what
that
we're
that-
looking at, Courtney, is trying to look at a lot of those costs up there in the transfer station as, okay, you use it, you throw it away, you pay for it. We don't all pay for it. And so what's happening now is we're all kind of paying for everything. So if I hire somebody to come and cut down 10 trees in my yard, and they take them up there, I should be paying that 10 for whatever the percentage costs to do it. And I think that we're hoping,
I agree.
Vika, probably in the next month, we'll come forward.
Yeah, so the transfer station has a little committee that has been working on going through every little detail of everything that it costs to dispose, who pays for it, how much it gets paid. We've looked at other towns and the costs that they're charging. And this has been one of the things that has been noticed over the last couple of years, that the cost of the chipping is one of the things at the transfer station that does not receive any kind of revenue, but it costs the taxpayers a lot of money. And so going forward, distributing, whether you're commercial, whether you're individual, how much it should be charged, you know, and so forth. And so hopefully that probably will be on one of the agendas in May, in which case it would then go in front of the annual town meeting to get approved. And then if things go well, then we will start, you know, receiving some revenue for these costs that would hopefully offset the cost of this.
And so a good example is my son has an arborist license. I could have Tom Damon come down and cut 5 trees at my house. I could, and not pay him, but I should still be paying to dispose of them. Or I could hire Bo to come cut them. I'd pay Bo, plus I should still be paying. That's kind of, that helps.
No, it makes sense.
So are we taking 21,000 out of that?
We can't, not yet,
How come?
because we've got to have it done right now. We've got a mess up there.
You seen the stack up there?
You've been up there?
No, but how come we don't?
Well, we have the money in
We can't.
this year. The only issue is we're,
Or you can turn it into fire?
we have a whole bunch of chipping that's everywhere right now, and that's becoming an issue also. So it's something we have to look at as a town, because that's a fire hazard.
We also live in a community that 100 years ago was completely clear, and we've got a forest. The whole island is maturing at the same time, which is another huge issue when it comes to potential for fire.
The bittersweet's doing its best to keep it knocked down. but-
So the chips are free. You guys want chips and stuff, you know, go help sell,
Yeah.
spread it around flowers and stuff. you know.
That's another thing that we've discussed within this little committee, is that trying to do when it comes a little bit closer to when people start cleaning out their gardens, because a lot of people don't even know that that stuff is free, and it's really nice mulch. For considering that it's free, I mean, you're paying for it one way or another at this point as a taxpayer, and advertising maybe some weekends where we can spread the word to have people come pick it up and, you know, take some away, or maybe we can get Public Works involved in trying to distribute some of it, but that's definitely in a discussion.
My question was actually really simple. It was, can we take 1,000 out and go back to 20,000? That's really all that I was gonna say for tonight. And that really was my question. It was if you had talked to Jamie and if he had said to you, it's gonna be 18,000, 19,000, 20,000, or 22,000.
No, that's one of the initial numbers that Justin put in there. You can knock down that 1,000, but if we go over next year, I'm gonna remind you that it was because you took that $1,000 out.
I say knock it down to 20.
So yeah, each time he comes out, he has to do the whole thing. He can't just do like half one year until we get it.
Because there's so much more. I mean, it used to be that there was just, you know, kind of like brush. I mean, if you go up there, it's just,
I think we're gonna get to a philosophical conversation, sort of like Courtney was sort of maybe hinting at. And, you know, do we continue to operate the brush dump? Do we offer the brush dump for open availability 24 hours a day? Do we try to man it? And if we man it, we try to charge people, are we making any money on it?
Paul's got it all
Or
covered.
do we incur more employee time and costs? And is it worth it? I don't want to get into that tonight.
Yeah,
So as the facility committee, we're looking at that, and we have some
Recommendation.
recommendations.
Okay. So are we leaving it at 21? Are we knocking it down? What are we doing?
Let's put it down to 20. I'm fine with it.
Okay.
Only $1,000.
You. Page 24, Department 7500 benefits and insurance.
Can I, sorry, before I interrupt you, so I think, I was just looking at it, 2021, we spent 20,900. So, just, that's probably where that 21 came from.
Okay,
Thank you, guys. I gotta run.
all right, thank you.
Thank you. Page 24, you said?
Yeah, so this is probably a question that is too late and might be kind of stupid. Page 24, Department 7500. Because I think you gave us an explanation of the first line, which is health and life insurance. But one more time, why does it say reflects a 6% increase when 6% of 97,000 would be $5,820? Sorry, but
We did talk about this last time, and the biggest reason for such a high jump from the 2022 budget to the 2023 budget was in the 2022 budget, the HRA health reimbursement was not included within that, and so the combination of that, the combination of adding a part-time Kathy to the mix, and the 6% of the health insurance increase that we received that was not received in the previous year is why that is such a high jump.
I think, don't you have a bookkeeper in there and also, or auditor?
Yeah,
estimate?
yeah. And I did, at one point in time, and I'm happy to do it again, sent you all these little Excel spreadsheets with all the breakdowns that shows you that number.
okay. So I guess there's no savings to be had on that page. I'm going to capital improvements. We're going to start on page 33, capital improvement fund. My first question is, we have $100,000 proposed for stone wall, and we have a current balance of, I don't know, maybe 180,000. I don't know what the balance is. It was 200, but
Right now it's 202,000, but we, are still having things with the stone pier coming in, and then, the remainder of the bill for the stone work road widening, so that will be lower.
okay. So here's my question, and I don't think you were able to get any sort of an idea. Do we have any idea if we try to finish a finished design work for the stone wall, what that would cost us?
he's working on it right now. I got in touch with Jason, who is the chief engineer from whoever it is.
Right there.
Whichever one, we've got this stuff.
Right here.
Right, Pierce, and what I asked him was if he could come up with a timeline and an estimate for what it would cost us for a preliminary design and a final design to get us to construct to a point where we could go out for grants and that kind of thing. And he's working on that right now, so we should know that in the next week or so. He might even have it by next Wednesday, I don't know.
And do we have any idea what the stone walk widening cost is gonna be for that design from Cedar Mahar? We don't have any inclination at all.
I don't recall from the information that I looked at, I don't believe there's a number now. The one thing to keep in mind is, the Shore and Harbor grant, which we applied for, which that's kind of, up in the air as far as whether that money will be received or not. The maximum was $50,000, and that grant was, Jason from Wright Pierce helped me, submit that it was $50,000 with a $25,000 match, and that was to cover costs of the design process, what, you know, what we're going through right now and kind of where we're trying to get to.
Okay, well, you all may cringe with this, but I'm recommending we only put 50,000 in that account, instead of 100.
I think your question, you know, I think what we should do is wait another week or so and find out what he has to say. Because the bottom line is, if you want the stone wall fixed, you've got to get in line. And I found out from the research that I did on the Cousins Island attempt, you have to get on a list for the Department of Transportation. And you
Yep.
can't get on a list from the Department of Transportation unless you know what you're talking about. And that has to be done 6 or 8 months before the earmarks happen. It has to be done by, I think it's the end of December of the year previous.
Okay, so that's a no from everyone, I'm assuming.
It's only my no,
Is that a no from you? Thank you.
until we get that information.
The next one is 90-25 fire department reserve. I'm recommending 20,000 instead of 50. And my rationale is that the fire department pushed their budget up almost $38,000 on us, and we're accommodating that. I don't think we should then give another $50,000 towards the truck this year.
I think there's a different topics. It's like the operational versus the capital budget.
No, I understand it's
And-
not apples to apples as far as operation. All that I'm saying is, I'm not saying that their request is not warranted on the operational side. I'm saying, I'm not sure we can honor their request on the operational side and honor their request totally to move towards a new vehicle purchase.
I guess I could go along with that, knowing that in FY '26, we won't have that SAD 51 budget, and that we might be able to double up.
I don't know that.
No, I know, but I mean, it's impossible. I'm just saying, my personal rationalization for agreeing with you is thinking of that, and also the potential for, you know, maybe a grant.
It's okay to not agree, I'm just shooting you out.
No, I want to rationalize.
You
Yeah.
can shoot me down.
No, I'm agreeing with you. I'm just saying this is why I'm thinking, how my mind is thinking.
Well, my mind's thinking it's either we take it out of here or we take it out of the operational budget. I think you'd rather take it out of the 50 than out of the operational.
Well, no,
budget.
they would rather we not take anything.
At all, I know,
But,
but,
and it's not personal with me, with any department.
the way I'm looking at it is we don't have the undesignated fund as a buffer this year, or, you know, we're attempting not to use it as much as possible. So, I'm in agreement to go down to 20.
I fully understand Jay's point. I've talked to Herb Main a lot about this, and what I'm referring to is capital budgeting. You can kick the can down the road for many years on many projects, paving, buying vehicles, fixing the town hall, fixing floats and ramps. But at some point, the bill comes due. So planning is better than not, but this budget's up, and I think this is all I'm doing.
The other thing is the last vehicle we bought, we bought it and paid it off in 5 years, as opposed to putting up the money ahead of time. But, you know, again, it would be nice if we kind of an overall plan as opposed to, oh, we got to save a couple of bucks so that we don't have to raise the taxes. I think that in terms of raising taxes, like, if, assuming that, I mean, since everybody else around us is raising taxes a lot, not that I'm suggesting that any more than we need to, but if we have, if we have something to show people that we've done, as in, we paved a bunch of roads this year, that's why your taxes went up. It makes sense. People look at it, oh, there's a correlation. It's easy. You know, that
Yep.
we need to be able to justify it. We need to be able to physically demonstrate that we've done something as opposed to just raising taxes.
So where do you guys think we're at? Are we leaving it at 50 or dropping it to 20?
I would be willing to drop it because when the last vehicle that we bought, it was several years before we were actually due one. And we always come up with money, either we take out a bond or we buy it on time or we do whatever. But I do think that things are gonna look different in FY '26.
The last one was a straight 5-year loan from which I was saving back
Right.
at 49,000.
Yeah, it was 6 years and there was interest that accrued on that. With this particular money that's being aside for this one, it is according to the plan, I don't know where it originated from, this particular vehicle should have been replaced in 2015. And so after speaking to the fire department, they said that they're glad that it's still running and they're happy, but you might potentially run into a situation where it stops running. But that's, and that, according to his estimate, is gonna be about $325,000 expense for that particular vehicle when it is needed.
Thank you, Vika.
So I'm in agreement to bring it down to 20,
Okay.
so we'll find it somewhere.
Next one you won't agree with, new town office, I'm saying 0. I'm assuming you don't agree with that one.
Which one is that?
I'm sorry, it's 90/30.
I think we're progressing, being part of the facility committee.
We have about 45,500.
Well, I know they're coming to look to hire an architect.
Yeah, we're looking to hire an architect and we're looking forward with a plan, so I think.
Leave it alone.
Yeah,
Any,
would like
any
to leave it alone.
indication as to how much the total plan's gonna cost? Not the plan itself, but what you wanna build?
Not yet.
That's why they're hiring an architect.
Not yet. We have ideas on what we want based on the fire station and the office side,
Or the
on what
needs.
kind we want. Yeah, needs.
Needs. It's
So basically, we
needs.
did like a need assessment. So we're hoping the architect, based on their experience, can compile all the information together and give us something sensible.
So I'm assuming leave the 10 in there, right? Okay, thank you. I have one more. Number 9055. We decided to put $40,000 in public works equipment. I'm saying knock that down to 20. And my rationale for saying that is, not only is the operational budget of the public works department up, but we just financed a plow truck for 6 years at $22,000 a year for that department. And by the way, I don't know if you noticed, Big, about in the public services department. I don't know if you have on line item, on page 15, line item 5112, you have the capital purchase in the operational budget, $123,814.50.
I have no idea how that got there because I never touched that.
Okay, I just pointing that out.
I'll look at it and see why I ended up.
Because I
there.
believe the first payment this year is just interest only, and then the capital picks up next year.
No, that's weird because it didn't do that before. So there was some glitch with it this year.
I realize that you guys, you may say no to this, that's fine. I realize you did that visit to the public works. I know we're thinking about some sort of a mowing machine, sweeping machine.
Well, there are all kinds of ideas.
Yeah,
Lots of
but anyway, that's my recommendation.
What's
So
their
you can-
priority?
You can take it or you can.
Replace the 1940.
It's the 1940 International tractor that needs to
Right.
be replaced. That's why that money is being assigned. The tractor and the replacement of the rental, I looked into that and I'm not sure where the original quote was. in terms of determining that us renting it could be the same cost as us paying the monthly payments for it over the course of so many years. It's actually, if you look at it, it would be twice as expensive in an annual year to do the payment versus, you know, what the rental is. So that's, I think, a discussion that you would have to have for another time, but this particular money was being putting aside for that 1940 International that should be replaced.
But if we did buy it, when that, how many years was it going to be financed?
The money that's being set aside is nothing to do with buying to replace the tractor for the mowing. That's two different equipment that you're
Oh,
talking
you mean
about.
it'd be that what, so it's not a tractor, it's not like a universal that could be a tractor and a mower?
That was something that was being discussed and was asked to look into to replace what we currently rent for equipment and spend the money on
But
renting.
it wouldn't replace the international harvest, whatever it is.
That's the difference.
It's the attachments that
Oh, it's the attachment.
that are, you can buy a basic tractor that would handle 99% of what we need to do for a fairly rational, reasonable amount of money. But when you start adding mowers that will go up and trim trees and do all kinds of other things, all of a sudden the price skyrockets and it becomes an 80.
Okay, so
Yeah.
when you figure that out, if you figure out the extra that is on top of what it would cost to replace the tractor we have now, is that still double? Just if we're only looking at the attachments. Because I think that's how it was rationalized. It was the attachments would pay for itself over a short period of time because we wouldn't have to pay the rental. Does that make sense? I think that's how that went.
Well, you'd have to run those numbers to see if they were accurate. My recommendation was cutting it in half by 1,000. That's my recommendation. You guys can.
So,
Take it
so
up.
it said the initial was 50,000.
Oh, sorry. Did I miss it?
Yeah, it was an
Yeah,
increase of
50,000.
9055.
Sorry.
I would like to have Vika come back and give us, you know, some of those firmer numbers before we make a decision, because we still have another shot at this, right?
I think this is the same thing as the fire truck, the fire department reserve. We set some money aside to alleviate some of that cost, but the rest of it's gonna go to the bank.
Yeah,
Sorry, I misread it. I was cutting it, I was proposing cutting it from 50 to either 20 or 25. Been a long day. Thank you for coming.
there's not a lot more. I just want to go home and supper.
No, I'm done. I don't know if anybody else.
I don't want to cut that one.
Okay.
No, I think, we've talked about this over and over again. I think we need to figure out how to make it work.
Did you guys,
You're leaving it at 50?
the Board of Selectmen, do you have anything else to discuss with this proposed budget tonight? Nobody else? How about members of the public? Do you have any questions or comments for us?
I appreciate your service.
Thank you. You're one of the first people who've ever said that at a meeting to us.
Go ahead.
I just have, are we dead set on doing the secondary paving this year? Contract.
That's always up for debate. If the community and the Board of Selectmen think we can't afford it, then we have to.
How about if we wait and see, and get some ideas from Jackie about what the valuation is, because it's after April 1st, so she'll know what that has been. I mean, I think we have to look at the whole picture
So what-
before we make a,
So what we did last week was we hacked 50,000 out of that saving money. And we tried to save enough we already have the money for the chip
We only got the
seal.
185 and it's, I mean, I,
Are you guys
my sense of
talking
things is
about
that we
the
should
chip
finish the
seal?
job.
yeah, me too.
No, they're specifically talking about, do we want to keep the 140 or 50,000 in there for Chandler's Cove Road paving, Cart Road paving, and the tops of Fenderson and Caps
Yeah,
Road?
if we can actually get the paving company out here to do
Well, we haven't talked to them yet.
So the one thing I will say is, with the work that should have been done last year, that is now anticipated to be done this year, you are already gonna be paying an extra $5,000 because of the costs. So that's the other thing that you wanna think about. The more you set this for a later date, the more it's really gonna cost you in the long run. Because you're seeing the difference of, even though we paid that $42,000 for the stone that's sitting there for the work that's not being done, even though that was out of our control, we're now paying an extra $5,000 for that because it wasn't done last year.
And remember
because of
that the
increase in
steel
costs.
part is petroleum.
Yeah,
The chip is the rock.
Right.
It's going up.
and then the barging went up.
And this is, we were on a 10-year plan for paving all of our roads and getting everything set. And we're now in year 15 of a 10-year plan. So that
Close
was,
enough.
That's another 5 or 6 years.
that was what the original plan was, right?
That was the goal.
Okay.
And it was kicked down the
The
road.
key word is goal. But right now, to answer your question, we still have the money in the budget.
We
So
want to leave the 125.
Okay.
To finish
The money
off.
to complete all of it.
well, I think we do. Part of the community may feel differently about that. and-
They can vote
They
it
can,
down.
that's why we have a town meeting where everybody gets to chat.
Yeah. Remember, at town meeting, anyone can make a motion on any item that is not, what's the legal?
Well, what are
term?
your things
Fixed-
called?
A fixed item?
You know how we can't,
Yeah,
Cap
cap,
item.
you know how there's certain things in your budget, right? That where it comes as a little group, then you have to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyone can make a motion to say, I think Department X should be funded at this number, that it's different than the number proposed. And then they have to get a second. And then the chair, the moderator has to ask for discussion. And then after discussion, there's a vote.
Then you do that to the school board.
You applied
Also.
for 50,000 Shore Harbor grant,
it was 50,000 maximum.
maximum, okay.
Is that the one that Carol White was helping you with or helping with?
No, this is a completely different one. Carol was helping with a resiliency study. And then we're working on the working waterfront thing.
Right.
This is a shore and harbor grant that we applied over the last couple of years that you guys, within all these discussions, authorized me to apply. So it was $50,000 maximum
Yeah,
and
and
then
then,
$25,000 match.
so it's 20, we get 25 from the state, we match it with 25?
No.
Well, we get 50 and
we
match
would
it
have
with
to match
25.
25.
That's what I
We
was,
didn't have to do the full 50,000, so I didn't go for the full 50,000.
Is that a small harbor improvement grant?
Yeah.
If nobody has anything else, we
I
can
just,
go
can
home.
we clarify some meetings? So this one, tonight was the school board.
Yeah.
This wasn't our fourth draft. Correct?
Correct.
That's correct, but we're behind on that
Yep,
language.
we ended up missing one meeting essentially.
So.
I mean,
Well, we did
tacked
talk
on a
about it.
meeting. We had all the meetings we were scheduled. Not a lot of progress was made in the first couple, so we tacked on an extra meeting, so we haven't had. a
I know that we
fourth
have-
official yet.
I know that next, the 20th, that meeting's probably pretty jam-packed with all kinds of good stuff. So am I wrong in asking that we have a meeting on the 27th for the fourth draft? And then the final presentation budget was set for the 4th of May.
Well, some of the things that I thought was gonna be on the budget, on the agenda for next week, today changed. So I'll know better tomorrow when I add up.
We don't have a scheduled meeting on the 27th, so this would be a separate special budget meeting that you would add on.
Do we feel that we need a meeting on the 27th? Is that how you feel, Jim?
Yep.
You guys too?
I don't see the budget changing much except for the, getting the numbers from Jackie and stuff to find out.
And the
if we
stone
need to
wall,
tweak some of
if we
the
get
stuff.
something about the stone wall.
But as far as talking about where we're gonna do how we're gonna pay the dredging
We need
needs to be talked about.
to, yeah, that should be a priority. We need to make a final decision on that.
Yeah, I guess I don't mind getting together for it, but I don't, know how much meat we're gonna have left to talk about.
Well, we gotta figure out what we're gonna do about that dredging. And if we get some kind of a number from the stone wharf in a timeline, and it's up to the board to decide, do they want to drag it out another couple of years, or do they want to, you know?
I know, but that's not a whole meeting. That's two items.
Yeah.
One that we might finance over and over because of the revenue. The other one is, did you mean, are we leaving 100,000 in the stone wall reserve account?
Yeah. Oh, Jen, what did you think? What were your thoughts about the next meeting?
I think we should have one on
But for
the fourth
to discuss what?
draft. The fourth
Well, I know the fourth draft, but we briefly touched on it on the sixth. We didn't like break down, because I took out 50 grand out of paving, so I know we were talking about it.
I think it just kind of regroup so that when we go into the final budget meeting, we're all on the same page. Hopefully.
Okay. What do you guys? You're in favor of it?
I think so, yeah.
What about you?
I'll get it.
We don't have to make a decision tonight. We can talk about it next week.
Yeah, let's talk about it now.
On Wednesday, you want to put a thing to talk about the budget? I know. I was talking to-
Thank you all tonight for coming.
Thank you.
Thank
guys.
Thank you.
Well,
If I would have gotten a bad number.